Have you ever lost to an early queen attack? Yeah, me too. Stick around, and by the end of this video, you'll know how you can defeat Scholar's Mate by move 10. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right in here with e4, e5, queen h5. All right, this is very common, very infamous here. They're simply trying to go bishop c4, followed by queen takes f7 with a quick checkmate. Now, if you want to see this on the board, I'll give black a couple of random throwaway moves. a6, bishop c4 with the checkmate threat. Even right here, this would be very simple to stop. Just guard f7. But if you don't, very unfortunate and quick end to the game. So that is the 4-move checkmate known as Scholar's Mate. We do not want to find ourselves losing to this. So back here, e4, e5, queen h5. What can we do? I'll show you what is supposed to be the best move. What is often taught is knight c6. Okay, perfectly good move. They will play bishop c4. The point of knight c6, by the way, is to guard the e5 pawn, so that makes sense. You know, when they first play queen h5, there is no threat except for e5, so you guard that. Now they've played bishop c4, and the threat is on f7. That's what you need to guard by playing g6. They will play queen f3, and they continue with the mating threats. You play knight f6 to block. And if they want to be really stingy here and just keep trying to stubbornly attempt to attack, they can play queen b3. In such a position, they are still applying pressure, but it's not very good. In fact, you can play knight d4. They can take your pawn with check, and that is okay, because after this, their queen is going to move somewhere where soon after, they're not going to be able to stay in contact with the bishop. So say queen c4. The only move that continues to guard their bishop, you throw in b5, and they can't move anywhere that continues to guard the bishop. So they will move their queen, you will capture the bishop, you're up a piece. There you go. Very nice. However, that is not a guarantee, of course. All the way back in this position, most people who are experienced here know better than to play queen b3. It's tough to say how many people would know not to play queen b3 and keep pressing for this f7 threat. You see, a lot of people who play the Scholar's Mate, it is, they're very early on in their chess career. It's the first thing they've learned, and they like it because they get some quick wins with it. But people who really take it seriously, yes, there are people who take this seriously. They will learn all the theory, and they will play knight e2 here. And it's perfectly fine for white. They're doing perfectly fine. They have a queen and bishop both developed onto decent squares. The knight is fine on e2. It's going to contribute in the future. And the point of it is to stop knight d4. So this is perfectly even. It's perfectly fine. You could play this, and you would get very playable positions slightly in your favor after moves like bishop g7, say castles. There's not really a clear way you're going to move forward and win, though. You're likely playing d3, and then you're developing your bishop, perhaps to g4, perhaps to e6. Maybe you play some sort of Italian game type moves like a6 or rook e8, perhaps. And there's not really a clear way forward. So, while this is perfectly good, and for good reason, that's why it is the commonly taught way to play against the Scholar's Mate, I'm going to show you something else, something spicier, okay? So back here, when they play queen h5, everyone else says knight c6, defend the pawn. How about no? Let's go knight f6, okay? We are going to give up the e5 pawn, okay? And I want you to watch the eval bar here. Everyone says giving up the pawn is just losing, it's bad, oh, it's the end of the game. But it appears to barely be any better for white. After they take, look at this, it's plus 0.1, it's borderline equal. All right, it's barely better for white, despite being up a pawn. A big part of this is that their queen is in the middle of the board, as is their king. So we are going to see some counterplay generated on the e-file in the coming moves. And let's demonstrate. All right, we're going to play bishop e7. I mean, you have a 50-50 chance of spotting that at least. Queen e7, waste of your time. They just trade queens, and that kind of solves their problem. You're going to play bishop e7, and here, most of the time, large majority of players will play bishop c4. So they're continuing with the sort of the Scholar's Mate type moves. It's usually bishop c4, and then commonly you'll see d3 right after, okay? So we'll continue here with castling for black. All right, and you can probably guess what we're doing soon. We're going to go rook e8 and line up the rook with their queen right behind our bishop. And I'm going to show you what they do here. Most people play d3. Again, bishop c4 and then d3 are just the most common moves after we've castled, after we've blocked their check. They just tend to play these same few moves because it's what they're used to in this opening. And so we continue with our plan of rook e8, and we do have a very neat threat here. So let's say we give them a throwaway move here like h3. All right, doesn't affect the position, doesn't stop our plan. Now we have the very, very nice bishop b4 check. So a discovered attack on their queen while checking their king. So they're busy getting out of check, and we're going to take their queen as soon as they get out of check. Obviously, winning for black, and maybe they'll go c3, and we take their queen, they take our bishop. We're up a queen for a bishop. We are absolutely not complaining. It's a very nice position. So back here, most of the time they're going to spot this and they're going to conclude they should play queen g3. This is another normal move, which we will talk a little more about in another line at some point, because they want to play bishop h6. So there is an idea there. But we have something just faster. All right, we have d5 here. And I was actually surprised when I was looking into the statistics here, but most people by far will take this pawn. Like, not even close. Most people will take. And you can take a look at the position here. I know you can see the bar saying mate in 2. See if you can find it. It's really, really nice. All right, there's a very nice checkmate in 2 right here, right now. Of course, if you don't spot that, you could also spot bishop d6, which attacks their queen while checking the king. So that would be winning. It's not as good as bishop b4. Double check. And again, nice thing about a double check is they have to move the king. They don't have time to block the check. Let's say they block the bishop and you still have a rook checking the king, right? And they obviously can't take either of our pieces. They're moving their king. And wherever they go, you follow up with rook e1, and that is checkmate. On the spot. Very nice checkmate. On move 8, we have severely punished scholar's mate right here. Now, we can go back a few moves. And when we play d5, suppose they don't blunder the game away immediately by taking the pawn. And what if they continue with the bishop h6 plan? I'm sure a fair amount of people would do that. You can transition into another neat idea. All right, we have a very nice move here, knight g4. So we block the queen's path to g7, so now there is no checkmate. And in addition to that, we are now threatening to capture their bishop. So now the bishop is going to flee to safety. Let's suppose they go to f4, double up here on the diagonal, attack c7. No big deal, because we have another nice tactical move. It's kind of funny looking, but we have bishop h4. We have our own queen and bishop battery. And look at this x-ray through the queen. We are attacking f2 with our bishop once they move their queen. If they move their queen, I suppose. Say they go queen f3. Well, we have two pieces that are looking at f2. We may just be... I'm not even sure which way you take. Like, they both look really, really good. No, knight takes, it threatens the rook. Maybe bishop takes is better. I'm not really sure, but you're winning material. It works. Fantastic position to have. Now, it's possible they decide to do this and take your pawn, but you just take their queen. You're a tempo ahead. You take queen, they take queen. You take pawn with check. Where are they moving their king? I'm not sure. I'm going to assume f1, but they've got a bit of a problem here considering they have two bishops that are hanging right now. Let's take on c4. Chances are they're going to have this bishop flee to safety. Say they come this way. We're going to bring our bishop back, and now our knight's looking to come in this way or this way. Just complete dominance on the board. So that's all the way back here. They go queen h5. Again, you can play knight c6. That is the commonly taught way to play against the scholar's mate, excuse me there. And it's nice, it works, it's simple, but knight f6 is just a lot more fun, and you can get some really quick wins with this. Now, it's not always going to go exactly like we just saw with bishop e7 here. Not everyone will play bishop c4. A lot of people will also play d3 right now. Not as many people will play this compared to bishop c4, but they might go d3. And in this case, we're going to go with the same plan. We're going to castle, and we're going to build up towards rook e8, ideally. If they were to just play a normal, or say they played a3, like we're looking at rook e8 and d5 again, just like in the line we previously saw. Most people actually go queen g3, and their whole plan is, again, the bishop h6 idea. We could play rook e8 here and it would be fine, but it's not quite as effective. Because, if we play rook e8 and they play bishop h6, we don't have the same knight g4 move that just stuns them on the spot and basically wins. So here we would have to play a whole other knight move with knight h5 guarding g7, and they're totally fine. So instead, we need something a bit more effective, and we're going to go with d5. And a big reason why is actually that now, if they play bishop h6, we do have knight g4. And then we have the same tactics where they move their bishop, say they go here, we have bishop h4, the same tactic, just a slightly different position that we have. Completely crushing for black. We can go back a move here, go back a little bit. I mean, that's basically all there is to it. If they play normal, this is still a very nice position. I mean, we'll say that they go for something like e5. You know, e5 seems reasonable. We're still probably going to play knight g4. And we'll say they go h3 because that would be expected. We have another nice tactical idea here where we are going to take on e5, despite the queen attacking here. All right, and let's say that they do take back. And if they don't, great, they're down a pawn. But we are in this position now where they are again being punished for having their king in the center and their queen right in front of the king there. They're all lined up. We are threatening bishop b4, checking the king, and the rook attacking the queen. And if they move the queen to safety somewhere, I say they go to h5, well, then we have bishop b4 double check. They have to move the king, and boom. Simple enough, very, very dominant over the 4-move checkmate, scholar's mate. Now, there's one more thing I would like to show you here after e5. Sorry, a couple more things actually. If they go bishop c4 first, just as a side note, because some people will try to switch it up and be sneaky, oh, bishop first and then queen. Well, you just play knight f6, and I mean, there's not really anything here. The queen can't come out to h5 anymore. Probably come to f3, but we'll get to that soon. The other move, if they bring the queen out early, is usually h5, but a fair amount of people go to f3 instead. And here, same move, knight f6. Right, this is very simple to remember. Move 2 is just always knight f6, so there you go. And here they'll play bishop c4, and this is the position we just saw where they brought the bishop out first, and then maybe they're bringing the queen out. But here we have a neat idea. It's a different opening, of course, because they aren't putting their queen in the center, so we're not having the same ideas. But we are still looking at the center, just differently. So check this out. We want to play c6. All right, and we have a neat idea here, and I'm going to put in their most played move here. I'm sure you can guess. It is d3. And like I said earlier, it's bishop c4 and d3 are just so common for the people who play this opening with white. And the reason we went c6 was, well, we have multiple ideas. We could think about playing b5 and perhaps a5 soon after. And, you know, expanding our pawns on the queen side does look pretty appealing. It would get us some space, and their bishop is going to have to worry about a lot over there. But we actually have something more interesting. All right, we can play d5. Okay, and everyone's going to take because they look at this. Why not? And then you take, and then the bishop has to flee somewhere. I'm guessing most people would check. That seems realistic. Block with the knight. And the point of this setup is you have 2 center pawns compared to them having none. You've also taken their bishop off of their preferred c4 square. You are easily developing your pieces. You're going to castle quickly. It's just a very pleasant position altogether, and you don't really have much to worry about. Now, I want to go back here. d3 is what most people play, but some people will also realize, oh, they're going d5. I should stop that. And they play knight c3. And that is considered the best move here. However, it doesn't actually stop d5. You could still do it. You play d5 anyway, and everyone is going to take, because, I mean, that was the point of knight c3. Now they're able to take. And if you take back, then, yeah, this would be rather unfortunate. You're just losing this pawn and could very easily wind up in a losing position. But instead of taking, you go with this intermediate e4 move. All right, and the idea is if they correctly move their queen away, then you capture on d5, and you've got a pretty solid center right there. But just about everyone, actually, is going to take on e4, because they think, okay, another free pawn, I'll take it. And I'm sure maybe you can find the tactic here. Take a second, pause the video if you need to. This is a very nice tactic, good continuation. Right here, we have queen e7, pinning the knight to the king. And here, if they defend the knight, which many people will do by playing d3, well, now you just take on d5, and now your pawn is not only attacking the pinned knight, but it's also forking the knight along with the bishop. So you're going to win a piece one way or another. Obviously very, very good. And let's see, let's say they take the pawn here, that's the best move. Now we take, and we got the knight, so technically not up material, but we are up a knight in exchange for 3 pawns. And you would much rather have the knight instead of the 3 pawns. Especially with how it's lined up here, you know, in the center of the board. If they make one mistake, it's game over. But very, very nice position that we're in. That's if they go on move 2, queen f3 instead of queen h5. You can still get a really nice position and punish them for bringing their queen out early. Congratulations on learning how to punish the scholar's mate / the 4-move checkmate. If you're interested in learning a good opening with black that works against everything, by the way, then click the video here appearing somewhere on the screen, and good luck with that. Now, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.